how to monetize how to monetize your email list like a CEO, stress free. Happy Friday and welcome to We Don't Play podcast, where you learn about SEO, digital marketing, all the good things that will help you as a business overcome all the norms and all the noise, because there's some things that you have to really know as a business owner. How are you going to move? What are you going to move? And if you're going to move, how is that going to happen? So everything starts off with your website. And we're going to talk about that today. So happy Friday. Thank you for joining Martha, Patricia, Alvaro, Said, Mateus, Livette, Henry, Bell. It's good to see you again. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about how to monetize your email list. So I think the first thing to do is to first ask, what email platforms are you using? If you do this, this is your jam. If you send out emails and this is what you do, please put in the chat what platforms that you use, because I'd love to, hear your feedback. This is the perfect time to talk about anything that's email marketing related, because I'm going to give you some tips, some strategies, some ideas, some workflows. And to monetize means you have to work it. You have to put in the work. It's not going to just happen. Just like you can monetize your podcast, you can monetize your email list. But your email list needs to know what you're receiving or what you're sending. They need to know what you're giving. It needs to be very clear. And it also has to receive good signals. So there's a lot of things that go into not just, what you're creating. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for being here. It's been a while. So you have to think about your email marketing like a boss, like a CEO, right? And your email marketing starts off with your address. That's where we have to start off. If you want to monetize your email list, the very first thing you need to do is to have a professional email account. That's the first thing. Because when you have a professional email account or email address, then you have a professional workplace. That's why it's called workplace.google.com. If it's Microsoft Outlook, then you're dealing with Outlook Mail. If it's Apple Mail, at some point you're going to have to deal with Inbox, because if you have a brick and mortar location, you have a mailbox. Commercially, residentially, you have a mailbox. So online, you need to also have a mailbox. And that mailbox is your email address. And that's where everybody gets to know about you online. Without that mailbox, there's nowhere people can send you emails. Imagine if your emails were off or your emails were not being sent out. Someone sends you an email, you can't receive it, and it's bouncing. Someone's going to bounce to the next person because your email address is not monetizable, if I can put it like that, because all the tools and things are not in place. So for you to monetize your email list, you need to first have a work email address. A work email address meaning that you have a professional domain that is connected to a website. It doesn't just mean you have info or admin or hello or support or my name at your domain.com. That's great. That's the goal, right? When you have a professional email address, then it also has a domain attached. But if you just have those only without a website attached, then that's a missed opportunity. Because imagine I'm sending an email to you and I see your email address. And then I look at your email address, because anything after the at sign is a domain. So if you're buying it, if your name is Adam Alice at abc.com, Adam and Alice, that's the prefix, right? That's it could be initials, it could be anything, it could be names. That's the prefix. That's going to be what comes before the primary domain. That's why when you buy a workspace email domain, they'll tell you, what do you want to name this domain before the .com or at yourdomain.com or .co.uk or .net or .org or .org anything you want to fill in the blank. For me, it's .online. So the website is www.playinc.online. That is the website address. So when you have yours, it's World Wide Web, period, your domain dot fill in the blank. So when you have that formula, that is a simple formula online that people use to find you. So if you're going to have to monetize your email list, it starts off with that. How are people going to connect with you? Someone may want to send you an email, but they may not want to send that email to an info email. They want to send it to your name at .com. And it's happened a lot of times where a company would reach out and they'll say, hey, we want you to talk about this, what are your rates? And we discuss and we get that done, and it happens, but it comes from the work email addresses that are very specific because they're calling or they're requesting for proposals based on consultation, right? When you're reaching out to the company, if it's info, then that's more of a service. It's more of an agency request. So there's a difference. Hey, want to speak on your show? Hey, Shay, welcome to the room. And I sent you a message too. When you create that online presence with your domain, with that address, with that building, then you're creating a responsibility. It's actually called online reputation. That's really what it's called, online reputation, because online, you're creating a connection between you, the person who's speaking, and whoever is listening on the other side. It's a big thing. And for 2026, if you're not aware about this, it will be wrong for me not to tell you about this. 2026 is going to be it's already a great year already. By 2026, SEO of what we call today, or search engine optimization, there's also generative engine optimization. There is answer optimization. Like there's a lot of things that we're looking at, and everyone is talking about all these things, which is great, right? But at the same time, we also want to ask this question. Apart from our websites, because already there's a problem. Not many people use their websites. Not many people update their websites. Some people have their websites that are still backdated. Some people have websites that haven't been blog updated or author updated or category updated or product updated or policy updated. It could be any page on your website that hasn't been updated. And there's a log. There's something called a log. Because yesterday I had a meeting, I had a room yesterday, and I was closing the room because I had a very specific time limit. And I was getting on a call with, if you listened to this episode yesterday, I was getting on a call and I was on a call with a company in Singapore. Now, Singapore is the third most listened to country on the podcast. So on the We Don't Play podcast show, United States is first, which has gone across the whole US. And when I look at that, I said, okay, there are 146 countries listening in. And actually, they're number 4. They've changed. They've changed. I just checked it. So United States is number 1 because I wanted to make sure I know what I'm telling you. Number one is United States. Number two is UK. Number three is Canada. And number four is Singapore. And then number five is India. There are 146 countries. And then the latest one is Cyprus. That just happened 2 days ago. So I'm looking at Singapore, and I'm now connected with a company, and they do SEO, and he's a company founder. And I'm talking to him about, this is like 9 p.m. my time, which is like about, let's say, what, 2 a.m. his time. Like it was late. And he's like, yeah, I do this, because he was sleeping the day before. So I wasn't able to connect to him because I booked it so close, and I didn't think he saw his calendar. So he was like, oh, I missed it. So we talked again, and it was such a beautiful conversation. And they're doing amazing with SEO in Singapore. And why am I telling you this? Because for the fact that I'm even talking to somebody in Singapore, it is wild, right? Because it came off a podcast. So that's how I was giving you the stats first. Because from somebody listening to a podcast from another country that you don't know a person, I don't know anybody in Singapore, but they listen to the podcast. Now I know, okay, people out there need help. So I even asked him, hey, what's the SEO market like? What's happening? And he told me, and he was even saying how, people need help, but they also, they'd actually rather, he actually said this, which was very, it was alarming, but at the same time, it was surprising, which made sense. And he said they would rather pay, he said, let me say it the way he said it. He said that, I'm paraphrasing it. He mentioned this, and he said that they don't like Singaporeans. Yeah, he said it this way. Yeah, Singaporeans don't really like using this Chat GPT plus thing. They love it, but it's not really something that they want to do, especially if they want to like get business done. Welcome, Kim Ann. Thank you for being here. And Singe too. They don't really like Chat GPT like that. I mean, they do, but they'd rather pay somebody, $2,000 a month than pay $20 a month for ChatGPT. And when he said that, I was like, huh, well, that makes sense, because they don't want to waste time. Shiny objects right now is not a thing. Singapore has one of the most beautiful airports in the world. So you think about the people who are actually looking for help. And now I'm talking to somebody who is from Singapore. His wife is from Singapore. They have a business. They live in Singapore. And I'm here connecting with them. And how did we connect? Email. So everything I'm talking about in this room is not far from email. It's an arm's length or an arm's stretch away from email. Because when we think about emails, we think about connections, and we build out with people. And we ask ourselves, how do we monetize our email list? We monetize our email list by having a great address, or a good address that people can see, because that's the way people are going to connect with you. If I didn't have a work email address, there's no way I would have connected with that person yesterday. And now we're doing some great work together, and we're working on something really good. So I'm like, okay, let's tap into Singapore, because we want to connect more. There are other countries that we've been able to connect with, like Luxembourg as well. There's the UK, there's Canada, there's Australia. So I've seen the difference in how people really put out content. We have an intern that's in Portugal. So when I'm looking at the way the podcast world is, the email world is, people don't really see the effect of emails until something happens. Now, let me tell you what happened to me this week. This week has been a blessed week, because email wise, I'm talking about email wise, there's a website that I was dearly looking for. And this happened because I have a client who has she's in the medical industry. So we have clients like medical, restaurants, food, travel, business, engineering. Like, it's just wide. So it's open ended. We have e-commerce as well. We operate on Wix, Shopify, Squarespace, WordPress, name it. We were able to really go into like the search engines and the bots and the scripts, like, because there's websites and then there's scripts. So we're able to script through the website to now make sure it's aligned to the search engine. So we started creating these things. And then this past week, my client it was like 2 weeks ago actually. A client, she's trying to get trying to get medical like leads. Technically, she's just trying to get leads. And she's like, Favor, I need leads, and I need these leads to be actually people who are in the medical field. It's very specific. So it's not like, oh, I'm just going to get you leads from God knows where. No, I want leads that are from here that need this and that are looking for that. It's that specific. And I said, okay, challenge accepted. So what did I do? I said, okay, I'm going to do some deep into research because Google is your best friend, right? Google is your best friend. Now, even ChatGPT is your best friend too now. So I said, okay, I'm going to do some deep diving. I'm going to because I love swimming, by the way. I swim like from end to end without even getting out, without, bringing my head out of the water. I can swim through. It's great exercise, especially for your body, your lungs, and just, great outfit. So full body workout too. I said, okay, let me dive deep into this search engine and see what is out there that is going to help my client achieve this goal. And for me, I said, you know what? We're going to do some deep dive into search. And I'm going to talk about that topic very soon. I'll bring that platform to you. Like I don't like to bring things until it's fully done. So that's how I like to just let it marinate. So when it's time, if you hear it, exclusively in the email, click the link above. If you get the email, you get exclusive information. So that's what I really bring out to people. We have over 8,000 contacts we connect with on email. We have 2,000 contacts on LinkedIn with the newsletter. So at least about 10,000 people in a week are receiving content. So that's why I usually make sure it's really, really explained because I don't like throwing content out there as well. So I did some research, found this platform, and the platform is credit based. And I said, wow, this is new because other platforms I've been on, you'd have to sign a contract, which is ridiculous to me. And then on top of that, you have to depend on them to get you contacts or leads. But it's hard to get those leads if you're not really thinking about, what you're looking for. And your question is, okay, how am I going to get leads and build these leads in a way that is actually very specific? So I now found this platform and I said, okay, it's credit based. And then they also give you like free leads to test. So I said, okay, let's do this. Let's test it out. I tested it out and it was really cool. And I said, yeah, this is different. It's not your regular platform because I've tried them all and I told him, hey, this is my this is my last stop. I even had to book a demo. I said, this is my last stop. If this is not gonna work, I don't even want to talk about this because that's a lot of outbound marketing, which yeah, it's great, cold calling and talking to people, yada yada yada. Great. For me, it's attractive marketing. That's why the We Don't Play podcast show has amassed to all these countries just because of connections, education, inspiration, impact. So if you like it, I love it. If you don't, that's great. We can smile and wave. So I said, hey, let's try this platform out. I gave it to her. She tried it out. She loved it. I gave it to another client. She actually tried it out. And now she's actually working with almost about, and you want to know how do I monetize my email list? The goal is in branding, affiliation, and marketing, psychology. We talked about this yesterday when it comes to small businesses. How do small businesses gain traffic? How do large businesses expand on traffic, right? So if you're doing this as a small business, or a large business, when you attach and you connect those links, those domains to your websites, and you also connect them equally to your emails, you're sending out triggers to those platforms. So if you have a YouTube video and you're sending people to your website, and on that website, there's a web page you'll send them to that has a link or even has better yet, a thumbnail to your YouTube video, they can binge and watch your video from your website or from your web page. That's a good thing because that's also going to show the intent of how very detailed it is. So on the search side, The two platforms that are really great for monetizing and really, really creating that connection are YouTube and Pinterest. When you're on YouTube and Pinterest, YouTube is going to get you that longevity. Pinterest is going to give you that longevity. And if you combine both of them together, if you have both, even better, right? It's peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's just perfect. They can both work on their own, but when they're together, it's a whole party, right? So if you get the same effect and you want to create that for your website, the goal is to make sure that you have Pinterest and YouTube with content that is indexable, that is readable, that's findable. I was talking about how yesterday we got off the call and I got to talk to somebody that is in Singapore. And Singapore is the fourth most listened to podcast country out of 146 countries. Cyprus just joined on Monday or Tuesday, early this week. So I'm speaking to somebody that lives in Singapore, that works at a SEO company in Singapore, getting to know what they need in Singapore, SEO wise, opened my eyes last night. So when I'm thinking about monetizing an email list, you're thinking about your email address, you're thinking about the other email address that you're sending to and the one you're sending from. Because the email you're sending from also matters. Because if you're sending an email from your email to somebody else's email, that means when they click on your email, they're clicking into your domain. So when they click on a link that's taking them to your website, then it's your webpage that they're going to see. And if your domain is not as strong as it should be, or if it's not relevant or as extensive as it could be, then that's where you start having problems in between, because you're sending emails to people who are not receiving it, who could be receiving it but are not opening it, and maybe opening it and not really connecting with you. They're not even replying or even answering the poll. Because after you send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 polls, they should be responding back. And even we do that with clients. You'd have an episode, you have a poll. The poll is going to engage with someone because those polls allow you to know. People say, oh, podcast is one way street. It's not, it's two way. You create the bridge. You either make that bridge one way or two way. It's up to you. However that's going to look, that's on you. But you can create a two-way bridge and you can bridge the gap. The closer you can close the gap, the faster you can know the gap in between. And then you're able to understand how that flows. So when you have on your left side for search, which is YouTube and Pinterest, on the right side for videos, you have LinkedIn and you have TikTok. That's for social. You can have Facebook and Instagram. That's still there too. That would never go away. When I'm looking at it from a search and from a social standpoint, especially from a professional standpoint, I'm looking at those two as like the two peas in the pod that you need. And then you can also add other platforms in between. Because if you're running ads on a platform like that, it's better. You have to connect. So if you're able to understand and say, okay, it helps, it gets better. I'm about to have a call with someone, and this is probably going to be the third time it's happening with a company where they actually reach out to me and they pay me, and it's about $1,000 an hour for the rate for the call, and we dive into Pinterest. So it's happening again, and they're dealing with big budgets, and they're like, okay, how are we going to do this? So they're like, hey, we have this project. This email came in this morning. And they were like, hey, this is going on. This is going on. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, let's talk about it, because they're about to run millions of dollars for ads. And they want to know how we're going to do it. Are we going to spend more money in the future? Are we going to spend less money in the future? And that 1 hour call is going to be transcribed, and they're going to use that for investment and planning. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And I'm excited because consulting and connecting is because of LinkedIn. It's because of email. You don't just monetize by posting every day or linking every day or publishing or sending an email every day. It's what you do after or before the email is even sent. So these things happen. You have to be on top of your emails. So when you get an email, that email there's money in the list. You know how you've heard it before? There's money in the list, there's money in the email list. It's how much you value the people that are in your list that's going to tell you how well you receive them. and how well they receive you. So when you start adding emotion and value and connection, it changes everything, because you're sending an email. Don't just say click here. Those days are gone. Say I am ready. Let's go. Start with this, jump in. Let's dive in together. You're adding them to part of what you're creating, because when you say yours, or let's say you want to talk, let's say have a business conversation. If I'm sending you an email and I say your businesses instead of your business, you've lost me. You've lost me when you said your businesses, because now it looks like you're talking to more than one person, and I'm the only person that's reading this message directly. So if you change it to your business, when they're reading it, it's going to have a reflective measure on how they're going to receive it. Those little things change. Or if you need help with your businesses, let me know. Yeah, how? There has to be a connection, and that has to drive in impact. And it starts off with it starts off with asking that question, how are you? Not how are y'all or how are we? It's going to be like, who, me? It's not going to look great. So you have to think about the full picture on how people also respond back to you too. Richard, thank you for the feedback. Positive and Profitable Friday. Thank you for being here as well. All fellow business owners, we out here. What's the yellow plus below some people's name? The paid version? Oh, yes. So the plus is Clubhouse Plus. So if you have Clubhouse Plus, then you're going to have a plus next to your name. And that just means that you have all the features that Clubhouse Plus provides. And yeah, it's just the paid version. So you're completely 100% right. Yeah, it's a little different now. And I'm sure there are going to be maybe other colors. You never know. Maybe with other tiers that they're planning to bring on. So we'll see how Clubhouse goes and what you're really using the platform for as well. So let's talk about this. Dr. Fashion, John, Julie, thanks for being here with us. Anyone can chime in. How do you use your email list, and how do you monetize it stress-free? The goal here is stress-free because a lot of people stress out.
So I sent out two emails today, and I'm going through it. One is it's the primary tool I use for me personally to get more radio stations to run my radio show. So I delivered to 1,108 people, and as of right now, it's 35% open rate. Every station that comes on board, I'm sorry, 995 is the radio station one. That's a 36% open rate. I sent it at 11:53 a.m., so not that long ago. So the primary way I get more radio stations is by doing this. And so that drives income via social media and also podcast plays and all that stuff. Radio is a tool I use to drive traffic. Then I also did an email to email list subscribers for my podcast. They're all double opt in. I did it 1,108 cents at 12:14 this afternoon. As of right now, it's a 35% open rate. By the time they're done, and it's in a replay to non-openers, it will probably, which is Tuesday, it should be 78, 80% open rate. The clicks, I use that to drive listens, which creates more revenue from pre-rolls, mid-rolls, post-rolls, all that stuff. And also sponsor information is put in there. The one thing that I did, I would tell everybody, media buyers, one of the first questions they ask is how big is your email newsletter list and how often do you send it? Do you do standalone offers? If you do, this is an income revenue generating platform. However, having said that, realize they are going to be in direct response mode. If they don't get the kind of sales they want, it's not on a CPM basis, it's on a CPA basis. If they don't get the sales they want, they're going to ask you to send more. So there is a lot of aggravation goes with that. For me, internally, it's all about promoting my own stuff, which is stress free. So that's what I do with mine. See, Favor's on the phone. That's usually Julie's mode. Julie, doctor, either one want to go next about how they use their email?
Really? It's again, I'm usually on the phone. Yeah, you're right, actually. So thank you, John. Hi.
You've got a email list, and you're a big proponent of that as well. What's
Yeah,
your
no,
strategy?
absolutely. Well, your email list is the best way to create a fan base because if they're on your email list, they're interested. So, number one, I have an email list. I'm going to say maybe 10,000 people. Be very selective with what you send out. You don't want to spam them all the time, but you also have the opportunity to get people interested in being advertisers or sponsors for your brand because the bigger you grow your email list and you have that reputable list, people want to get in front of other people's audiences. So it's a great way to build a sponsorship or advertiser base because you do have a robust email list that also is something that provides for these possible advertisers and sponsors leads as well. So I don't recommend selling your email list. I actually think that's illegal, but promoting them on your email list, hey, why not? It's a great way to gain that kind of back end in terms of sponsorships and ads. What do you think, John?
It is legal to send standalone emails.
I mean, no, sell your email. Like if I were like, hey, John,
I would never ever buy an email
yeah,
list. I would
people
never
do
send them.
that though. I'm serious. Like
No, people do it. Here's
it's
the
illegal,
strategy.
I'm pretty sure.
Here's one strategy people can use. If you don't have an email list, or you're just starting one, or you want to grow yours, you can look for people that do CPM standalone emails, and then everyone that clicks on your offer, as long as they're going to send it to you, then you've got someone. Now, here's the key: put them in a separate list, and then permission pass them, so that people that do not want to hear from you have the option to get out. You never want to send first blind to people, anything. So you always want a permission pass. Secondly, that's the way to build a double opt-in list. Then you can work on getting subscribers from your websites, all that other stuff. There's ways around it, but the main thing is, and here's what a lot of people don't talk about, the most important thing on your email list, and Favor, so I see his phone, so I'll surrender in a moment to him, is hygiene. Get rid of your bounces and get rid of people that don't open emails. They're costing you money, and you're not making any profit from them. Get rid of them. Secondly, do not be ashamed or afraid to email your list frequently to develop some reliability, and you get reliability with the email programs, Gmail, AOL, whatever it might be. The more you mail, the better off you are. So
Yeah.
you can do hygiene. You can get rid of bounces. You can get rid of people that don't subscribe, that don't open. You don't want to keep those, and you increase your reputation by emailing frequently.
I love that, John, that you use the word email hygiene. I've never heard that. It almost makes me want to cringe, but you are so correct. Just keeping that, slimming it down. And good practices are that you have to have an unsubscribe tab on the bottom of your email and also your address. If there's not an address at the bottom of your email, any emails you receive, it's very suspicious. Thank you. Oh,
This is good. I'm just
HubSpot.
soaking it in. I'm listening. Yes, HubSpot is good too. Will just said I just started my HubSpot and they're flagging me for 1%. What? Wait, hold on. 1% bounce rate. I didn't realize that was high, especially in the beginning. Bounce rate. So, okay,
Yeah, I mean, that seems low, right? 1% bounce rate. That seems good, actually.
I'm actually trying to do the math because if they're flagging for 1% bounce rate, then what is the total email volume and what is also the unsubscribe rate?
You want
That's
a
also
low
going to be
bounce
factoring
rate.
in.
So 100% bounce rate is bad, meaning 100% of people jump on and jump off. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Because when I look at a bounce rate on emails, it's different from like a bounce rate on a website. Because definitely, like you said, Julie, you don't want a high bounce rate on your website. You want a low bounce rate, meaning that people don't leave, they stay. When they come, they stay. So if it's a bounce on an email, there are two types of bounces. There's a soft bounce and there's a hard bounce.
What
So
do we like better, hard or soft bounce? I have no idea.
you don't want either or. You don't want to have a bounce anything, but they
Oh, maybe
bounce
it's their
because
fake emails. Maybe that's what it means.
A hard bounce means they're going to be removed from your list. So soft bounces, they can be, if you look at different types of soft bounces, I just deleted a bunch of people. There, you'll get an on vacation autoresponder, and a lot of email platforms that counts as a soft bounce. We'll leave that one alone. Everybody else, I don't want them. Soft bounces, what they say, temporarily suspended, whatever it might be, I get rid of them because they turn into hard bounces and they're going to penalize your delivery. So soft bounces are temporary. Usually, most rules of thumb, you get 3 soft bounces, you move to hard bounce, you're removed. Be proactive, get rid of them.
Yeah. I mean, I use MailChimp and Wix, and they usually kind of organize all that stuff for me. I'm sure HubSpot does. HubSpot's pretty amazing from what I've heard. So, but I can't speak on HubSpot particularly.
yeah, with like we use Flowdesk, and we actually, speaking of email deliverability, we had a Flowdesk partner email web session earlier this week, and we were actually talking about email deliverability. We were talking with the product management team at Flowdesk. And I was really going in the chat because I even got to connect with two people outside of that, because we were really trying to understand the formula behind understanding what gives you the highest email deliverability and what really is the main thing. Because you've talked about MailChimp, some people use Constant Contact, some people use Wix, some people use Aweber. You like what you have. Some people use Go High Level. Everyone uses what they have. But I look at it from the technical. And when we had this meeting, what really keeps me going with Flowdesk, and I always say this every time, and it was actually confirmed on the call, because you can talk about stuff until it's confirmed. And I said, I love Flowdesk because of the partnership they have with Amazon. From a technical perspective, Amazon SES stands for Amazon Simple Email Service. So when you have an AWS system, right, and that AWS system is inbuilt into your integration into your DKIM, which stands for Domain Keys Identifier Mail, because it's something called a mail exchange record. The MX record is a mail exchange record. So are you exchanging mail from Outlook, from Google, from Yahoo, from Apple, from where? It's coming from those source files. So I look at the technical, like the under the hood. So when we look at email deliverability, we want to make sure we're in the primary inbox. Even if you're in the promotions tab, that's still fine, because your sequenced, or your email is for promotions. Because when people are psychologically in their email, when they're in updates, they're in update mode. When they're in promotions, they're in promotion mode. When they're in primary, they're in primary mode. So when people are in their emails, they're emailing based off what they're seeing, based off where they're feeling. So when we looked at the email deliverability, we also realized that yes, when you think about a soft bounce, to your question, Will, when you have a soft bounce, and John is right too, the soft bounce is something that you have that is sent and it keeps bouncing back. Like you get an email, let's say you send an email, you get an email respond back saying that this email was not received, it wasn't delivered. That's a soft bounce. And then when it turns into a hard bounce, it's really where you can't even, that email is pretty much like it's like a 404 error. At this point, that email is not even existent, because that email can be received. And then there are platforms that tell you when this email was bounced and when they were last active. And when they were last active can be completely different from when they are bounced. You're welcome, Will. So I don't just look at email platforms because it's shiny. I look at the technical and I'm like, okay, this achieves this goal. All right, check. Next thing, does it help with SEO? Yes. Some email platforms don't even allow you to add alt text into your images in your emails. That's what we're talking about, email deliverability. Some do, some don't. Not all do, not all don't. So it depends on where you really want to be. But when you start thinking about where these servers are also transmitting information, especially as a domain name, your domain authority is based off that brand. So if you use Mailchimp, it means that your business and Mailchimp have a partnership. Doesn't have to be officially a partnership, but indirectly you are in support of Mailchimp's business operation. That's why you are subscribed to business. with MailChimp. That's it. If you say here's our marketing stack, these are the stack tools that we use because this is how we run our business. If we use Clover, that's because we support Clover and we use Clover for POS system in our stores. So it depends on what you're using, and then that brand affiliation now connects you back to the domain authority. That's why Yelp is notorious for that, because they'll tell you top 10 restaurants in this city, top 10 this in that city, because they want to make sure that they're focusing on different brands that connect back to Yelp. You're not going to see your sushi favorite restaurant before you see Yelp first. So if you're creating emails and you're connecting back to the source file, then your soft emails and your hard emails, you have to get them out. Like anytime you send an email and it's soft, just get it out. You have two options: either archive them or unsubscribe them, like John was saying, and then you can do a double opt-in to now see if they come in. If they don't, get them out, because you're hurting your list. Imagine if every time you send an email, every single time you send an email, you're getting 1%, 2%, 3%. That's because I mean, think about it. How are you going to drive out of the garage if you have all that stuff in your driveway? You can't get out. You have to get that stuff out for you to drive out or drive through the drive through. So when you're doing things online, you're cleaning things out. If there's a broken link, SEO doesn't stop. That's why for me, I don't see it like, oh, it's a one-stop shop. Like there are things that I'll know today that I didn't know yesterday, and it will help me for tomorrow. And that way I'm able to even do things better, because you keep growing, you keep learning. So when you start creating these lists and you keep those bounces in there, they'll keep bouncing, because one, they're not being delivered, they're not being opened, and they're not being clicked. So what are they really doing there? And they've been there for years. If you can just segment them and say, okay, these are the people who have not been opening my emails within the last 90 days or more, or 365 days or more, filter them out. You can now put them back in the sequence. That's what I was also saying in the email marketing, the email deliverability workshop. We had a team talk, and I was saying, because people were asking, how do you do this? When you create a sub segment, because monetizing your email list is also sub segmenting, right? When you sub segment, you're creating a relationship with this person, because if somebody comes in from an opt-in, or comes in from an event, or comes in from somewhere, if you don't segment that same email, it's going to be a problem, because you won't know what they want. Like, I know my community well, that I know that they love lunch first. That's what they love the most. There's lunch, then they love dinner, then they like breakfast, and then they like brunch. Like, that's how detailed it is, because it's a relationship you're building, right? Because you never know when you're going to need somebody tomorrow. So you just have to just be just be yourself. Be kind, be good, and then show up when you need that responsibility to come out through you, because they're coming to your email list because they need your support, they need your help. So when you're also creating content, segment your emails. So when you kick those bounces out, start sending out emails more. We started doing that, and then we started realizing, okay, moving from 2% to 20% click rate with email lists that are within tens of thousands of subscribers, that's a great thing. Why? Because you have to think about those things. Some of you don't know this, and I'm going to say this today. Postmaster Tools is great. If you've never connected your email to Postmaster Tools, please do so. I love giving information like this, because sometimes there's so much in my head that I can't give you everything at once. But when I say it, I'm good, because I know you're going to hear it. Postmaster Tools, right? It's an email, it's free from Google, right? And connect your DNS records to that platform. Because what you're doing is you're creating a language connection. If I speak your language, we're going to have a deeper connection than just speaking in English, or in just the general language. If I speak in your native language, then that creates a very deep response. It not be, oh, where are you from? Where's this? What's that? You become like family that you were strangers half a second ago. And now you're all family. Yay, yay. So your goal is to create that relationship so that when somebody comes into your email list, you're segmenting. Because if you say, okay, if they hit this image, if they hit this GIF, if they click this link, if they click this button, let them be in this section. So you're able to know how many people are listening to your podcast, how many people are listening to you, how many people are reading your emails, how many people are doing these things. And then you start realizing that it makes sense. Because I know like HubSpot for Will, that it's a lot of money to have HubSpot. That's a lot. I know. I don't know what the prices is specifically, but it's a lot. And people are going to these tools because yes, you can say HubSpot, you can put that in your LinkedIn, you can put that into your details. Like for me, I'm HubSpot certified, SEMrush certified. When you look at SEMrush on my LinkedIn, SEMrush and HubSpot, they kind of sound the same. SEMrush. When you look at HubSpot, HubSpot is a CRM tool. That's great, but there's a lot of things going on at the same time. And if you're getting those low rates, if you're getting those bounce rates, if you're getting those spam filters, especially if you have unsubscribe rates, because if your unsubscribe rate starts hitting point 0.5, point 0.6, point 0.7, point 0.8, point 0.9, 1.0, that's a problem because that means the more people that are coming to your email list, the more people are getting worried, if that makes sense, because you're sending out emails to people who are hearing you for the first time and now are unsubscribing and actually marking you as spam. So you're creating a whole cycle of confusion and it's just destruction. And you don't want that. So how to avoid that is when you start sending them emails and they're coming in through the front door because you're asking them what they want from the front door. Whenever you go to a store, they'll say, "Hey, how can I help you?" You say, "I'm looking for some jeans, I'm looking for some shoes, I'm looking for some makeup." Answer you give is what's going to tell you where to go next. So with the emails, you want people to come in and say, "Okay, what do you like?" They may not even tell you what they like because they may not actually say it. But if you create a system that allows you to know what they actually like by segmenting it, it's better. Because a lot of us would have an email list and say, "Oh, yeah, we got this email list from here, from here, from here, from here." That's great. But if I've been in your email list for a year, for 2 years, and you don't know what you like or you have no idea of who I am because you've not created an email conversation that is actually two-way, then that's a whole missed opportunity because you're creating an email list and you're segmenting as you go. So every email you send, this is what I do. This is what we do. Every email you send, you look at and you have it's a 48-hour rule because there's some platforms that allow you to send after 24 hours, like Flowdesk. Some other platforms do too. When you send out an email at the time you're supposed to send it or the time you want to send it, after 24 hours, you send the same email again. Now, there's a little step that I like to go into. You can skip another 24 hours and then send it at the same time, but within that 72-hour window instead of a 48-hour window. So if you did it on a Monday, and then that Monday, Tuesday, they're probably still busy. Wednesday, you send it. Then by the time you're sending something new on Friday, they've caught up as well. You can still send it after 24 hours. It's not a problem, but you can test it out and see, right? I've sent out an email at almost midnight and they're opening it like crazy. And I'm like, "Oh, you guys are up. Y'all are up, up." So you notice that you start realizing what time of the day, if you're sending at 4 a.m. or at 12 a.m., it depends on how you really want to connect with them because that 5 minutes they have is precious. And that's something that you want to make sure that they're learning or reading. That's really, really good. So when you segment your emails, it's easier for you to start a workflow. Because if you've been sending an email campaign all month or all year or all quarter, and now out of this email list, 20% of them have been looking for workshops, events, seminars, conferences. That's all they click when they look at your emails. Yes, you have other things like podcasts and books, but they're always going to that section. You have a whole bucket of people who now are interested in events. Not only, but that's their primary reason for being on your list. Then you now send them into a workflow, which I was talking about in the event with Flowdesk. You send a workflow, and that workflow allows them to get back in, and you're able to monitor and see, okay, what are they actually responding back to? And you're using polls, because when you start using polls, it helps you to know really what people are thinking. There's one client that an email goes out and is talking about like how do you deal with therapy, how do you deal with mental health, and it was really well done by the team. And I was like, this is impressive because You get back and you hear results of how people deal with mental health. How do they deal with those things? And it's off an episode. It's like, wow, okay, this is what people are actually doing with their time. So you have a deeper connection. It's not just, hey, listen to episode 25, download now, subscribe, yay. No, it's creating that blend that when they're able to receive your email, they feel like you're talking to them. You're not talking at them. Because the last thing you want to do is talk at somebody. You want to talk to them with respect. You want to connect with them. You want them to feel welcome and feel appreciated. If you're on the wrong, you apologize. You just do your part and just be doing it in a way that allows you to be very connected to the person. That way, you're able to send out the right emails. Because when you start monetizing your emails, what you start to realize, when you start realizing that your emails are starting to get monetized, is you start seeing a lot of zip codes. Where will you start seeing zip codes? You start seeing zip codes in your receipts as an e-commerce brand or with your services. When you start seeing that, you start realizing that the zip codes that people are visiting you from are very specific. If you're able to detect and know how people visit your website by zip code, you're going to save a lot of money in the end, because the same people who have been visiting you organically one day are going to have an intention to come back with something in mind. So for you to be able to know exactly how they're going to operate, it starts off with you understanding that they need to also connect with you first. So if they come into your website and that website has a link and that link is leading them to a page where they can read more, they can leave the information later and connect with you deeper. And that will now take them to your email list. Because once you're in that email list, it makes sense, because now they're not leaving. They've been there for years. Some people have been on your list for 5 years, 5 years, and they're still open, they're still connected. They may not have said a word, but the day they speak up, is the day you know that you're happy you didn't stop, because sometimes you have to go through that process. And email is something that is so underrated because not everybody uses it, or not everybody knows how to use it. So when you start using all these tools and start creating the connections with people online, and you start having all these great emails, you're sending them to your podcast, you're sending them to your book, you're sending them to your web page, you're sending them to those platforms, then you start to really realize, okay, there's actually going to be a resemblance here. And that's when you realize, okay, there's going to be more connections. And there's really a big signal effect, because there are three signals. I've always said this in every episode. There are three signals. There's a user signal, there's a domain signal, and there's a social signal. A social signal is where everybody's at. Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. That's a social signal. That means if I like your post, I get a notification on my phone. That's a social signal. That means somebody liked your post. That's a social signal. A domain signal is different. A domain signal is from your website. It's from your website. And if I was to give maybe a perfect analogy to describe what a domain level is, as far as a domain notification would look like, is if, let's say, you're using Google Alerts and somebody mentions your name or mentions your brand name, and you get an alert. Oh, here's an alert. Okay, somebody just mentioned you on this website. That's a domain signal, because that domain signal came from another domain. It's domain to domain. It's social to social. It's Facebook to Facebook. It's Instagram to Instagram. It's Google to Google. So it's website to website. So when you have that signal, that's where you're able to have that domain signal. User signal is you and me. That's IP address tracking. Whenever you see ads on YouTube or Netflix or whatever you're using or listening to on your podcast, if you're listening to Spotify, and you have ads running, or YouTube or Peacock, and you get those ads, that's based on your history. That's based on how you're able to connect. So if advertisers are bidding in that zip code and that geolocation for you because you live in that area, then that's where they're going to connect with you, and they're able to have that conversion value. So when you're able to know where your audience is by zip code, you can now start writing for those zip codes. That's why SEO is beautiful, because it's not a one-time fix all. It's like, okay, I planted this mango tree, this pear tree, this pomegranate tree, then this grape tree. Let's see which one's going to germinate faster in the next 3 to 6 months. The one that has a much better yield is the one that you're going to have more spread. So when that one now yields more fruit, You can now get those fruits and now get more seeds to plant. That's the same thing with the website. When you have an article, it goes out and then the article now spreads seeds. Those seeds are keywords, they're seedlings because this one article gave birth to 10 seedlings. That means you have 10 new keywords that were never there before that are on your website, and now you have to address them because they're equally important. So if you start doing that and start compounding, you start realizing people start coming to your website for this page, for this page, for this page. And then if you realize that you have direct organic traffic on your site, on your website, direct organic traffic, because people say, what is direct? Direct is a mixture of actual SEO, which is organic search, right? It could be a mixture of AI now involved too with ChatGPT, with Perplexity or Cloud. You can have that in the mix and at the same time with social. So it's kind of like a three-piece meal. So you have your domains, and that domain is pointing out from these different sources. So if you send out emails and you send out emails with these links, it's better. You know what's even more advantageous? Let me give you guys a really hot topic secret here. Say this right now. Just listen. If you create, and this is something that happens and you can try this out. When you create articles and you create pages on your site that have keywords in them, that's why those URLs are so important, right? When you have those URLs are pathways. Because if I'm one typo away from a keyword or one typo away from a URL, that's a missed opportunity. Because if you have the wrong key to your house, you can't open the right door. So the typo can't be in that URL because that's going to be a missed page. It's going to be a 404 error page. So if you take that same concept and say, okay, we need 5 grams of sugar or 5 grams of rice, and this is exactly what people are searching for, then that 5G and that rice needs to be in that pathway. So when somebody is typing that, that is what is being read first because it's a print on demand. It's a print, and it's why is it print? Because it's text. Why is it text? Because it's encrypted. So when you're encrypting text into your domain level is creating all these effects. That's why when you start putting schema on your website, that's structured data. Without that structured data, you can traffic, you can get traffic, but the traffic is more calculated. Think about it. If you look at traffic, let me just give you a very visual example. If you literally, let's say you're 30 feet above, let's say you're 30 floors up, let's say you're in a hotel, you're 30 floors up, you're looking down and you're looking at a traffic light street. Like there's a lot of traffic on the road. Now, on one side of the road, on the left side of the road, it's unorganized traffic. You can definitely see this traffic going on here. And you don't know where people are going to, where people are coming from. It's just chaos. It's just a whole mess. On the right side, there's still traffic, but everybody's moving in a straight line. Everybody's moving in a linear scale. Everybody's moving. It's moving, but it's not as fast, but it's moving. That is the difference between unstructured data on your website and structured data on your website. When you have traffic on your website, you could come in either of those two, unstructured or structured. When it's unstructured, people don't know where to go. They're gonna show up and be like, "Yeah, fun park. Yeah, let's go to this, theme park," and leave. But if you come in and say, "Okay, I'm coming to this theme park because I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this," that's more structure in your day. That's more reward for your time. So over time, you're able to know, okay, if people are searching with these keywords, let it plant. Let the season come. Let it rain. Let it pour. Let it grow, and then come back again. That way, you're able to really see if that's something that's going to work for you. So when you create those things, and then you have those pathways as brand names, and you have those branded names into your actual keywords in your URL, when you send an email to your list and in that email has slash brand name, that's a big deal because that means that you're actually attributing traffic to that brand because there's either a branded search or a non-branded search. Pinterest is non-branded search or unbranded search. Google is branded search. So when you think about the search engines and you're thinking about things to buy, for example, a branded search would be Nike shoes or Adidas shoes, right? Or even a very specific type of shoe. That's on Google because that's on demand. That's like, I want it now. Plumber near me, I want it now. Pinterest is unbranded search. I'm looking for jogging shoes. I'm looking for running shoes. I'm looking for hiking shoes. I'm looking for, they even water shoes. I got to know this recently. There are water shoes that you can actually wear water shoes in the swimming pool and work out in the pool. So if you really want to be specific, then that's where you want to really tap in. And then you get exactly what you want because you get a pool of unbranded results. Now you decide what you want based on what you like. But if you want structured data, you can also do the same thing because when people find you in the midst of information, they can now point you out because it's something you have that makes you stand out. So when you send out emails to your email list, and that email list is built off relationships that you're segmenting with links that are branded, then eventually when people start to connect back with you, because you're affiliated with those brands, it makes sense. If your brand supports trees, because you love sustainability, you love, nature, that's going to point somebody into a different way. Somebody maybe likes to do sustainability investments. That's a whole pathway. Some people like to do it in different other ways. So you're touching on different elements of emotion, not just the concept of the logic, because everybody can turn on their cameras. But how are you going to do it in a way that's very different, especially now with iOS 26, right? I'm using iOS 26 right now and I'm seeing a whole different world coming. And there's a lot of things that you're looking at, you're like, okay, this is changing. This is how people are going to start interacting. This is how people are going to start like it's a whole thing. So if people are going to receive your email and they're opening it, how they're receiving it, the text, even the text, your font size matters. Size matters. If you have a font size that's really small and you're sending it out to people, how is it going to work for them? Some people may have their default font set to large or medium or small or 16, px. However it's going to be, you want to have an email list that can also read your emails. Anywhere between 14 and up is fine. Like 14, 16, font size is great. But the bigger, the better, right? But don't make it so big that it's jumbo big that now it's like every letter is three spaces. That's going to be a mess. So just do it sparingly. Get to see what they like, and then when you're creating links on your website or you're creating links on your email, use different colors. See what happens. If it's going to be events, make events orange. If it's going to be, blogs, make them blue. If it's going to be promotions, make them red or make them something else. Because you got to test these things. And when you segment and you realize people are clicking on them, those are triggers. Because if you have a brand and you have a color palette and you send out emails, those links that are buttons on your website could be links in your email as colors. So monetizing is like a mirrored image. You're not just thinking about, oh, we got to monetize this list because we have to make sales from this list. The goal is how many people even know what we do in the first place. If somebody was to raise their hand or have a pool of hands and say how many people, know exactly what's going on here and nobody raises their hand, that's like you're talking to the bricks, and that's not a good thing. So when you're able to do it in form of things like FAQs, it makes it easier because right now with search engines, Alexa, Siri, all these platforms, Google AI, they are looking for answers. So if your website has frequently asked questions and they are structured, they're going to show up on the search engines. That's a guarantee. Now, who's going to show up depends on who has the best quality, who has the best experience, who has the best storytelling, who has the best, outfit. Everybody can show up to this fashion show or this modeling event, but it's going to be a winner. Everyone can show up to this race, but we're going to have gold, silver, and bronze, right? This is the best of the best, but there's only going to be one champion. So it changes. If you look at my LinkedIn, I was actually doing a search. I was doing like a case study on how you can even like rank your podcast on ChatGPT by focusing on the keywords. I put it on my LinkedIn and I saw that it's very interesting that when you search for something that is in the form of a link that has a keyword attached to it, then it puts you within that bucket, because now if people are talking about a topic, you show up. If people are talking about medical stuff online, for sure, you're going to see Mayo Clinic. You're going to see those top sites. You're going to see those medical sites, because that's what has authority. If you're going to look for information about the weather, you're going to see information about the weather from, a website like AccuWeather. You're going to see different sites that's going to tell you things. If you're looking for restaurants or hotels, you're going to see like TripAdvisor. You're going to see Yelp. These are platforms that are out there, because that's where you're creating that tenacity from. So when you send out an email, the email is supposed to let people know where to go. So the font size matters. Try this out. Use, no caps lock. That will help. No caps lock, that really works magic, because when you use words have pixels. I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure you do. But words have pixels. You know how we say words are seeds? Like when you talk to somebody, even when you talk at somebody, or which you shouldn't. But when people like go crazy, it's like saying you can't pick up spilt milk. That's the same thing with emails. You can't send an email that has a typo. You can't send an email that has a broken link. You can't send an email that has that's a rookie mistake. So you have to test out your emails. Go to mail-tester.com, test out your emails, right? Check out your emails and see if they're actually going into the inbox. Because when people are getting your emails, you don't know you don't know what ESPs they're on, what email service providers they're on. They could be on Apple Mail, they could be on Outlook Mail, they could be on Google Mail. So how are you going to know what they're on if you don't know what they're doing? So when you're creating those expressions online, that size matters. Putting those links matter. Testing that thing matters. So when you send out those emails, you're warming it up. If you want to warm up an email list, start between 10 to 1,000. That's a safe spot, because within that 1,000, you're able to really say, okay, this 1,000, we're going to have this, we're going to have this, we're going to have this. Eventually, it starts to make sense, because when you're warming up an email list, you're warming up a domain. Because if I've never been to your house and then I come into the backyard, that's trespassing. That's a problem, because you've never seen this person ever before. So what is this person doing over here? That's a cold lead, right? But now you become a warm lead when I literally pull up to the back, and then I'm coming to the back door with goodies because I'm excited to be with you, and I'm giving you all this candy. Or I'm buying you stuff because I know what you like. That's that warm list, because now you're able to connect with someone and they feel like, okay, yeah, you can talk to me like this because we're friends. There's some things you can talk with somebody that you're friends with that it will fly. There's some things that will not fly if you say something to the wrong person, because you don't have that relationship. You don't have that connection. There's some things you have to respectfully say so that you don't mean it the wrong way. And if you didn't mean it that way, then there has to be something else that you have to, look into. So there's a lot of things we have to consider and also build into what we're creating online as a business. So yeah, think about that too. Dr. Fashion, John, Julie, do you think about your font sizes? And if you do, what do you do about them?
I do. I think about font sizes and colors, and I do a standard. So I use a header for the first one. Right, the title is going to be about 24 Arial, and the body is going to be 16 Arial, and then also click here is going to be 24 Arial, and they're usually be italicized, bold, and underlined, and they're clickable. So yeah, I do that. I put more emphasis on the appearance. Well, let's be honest. The very first thing I do is deliverability. Uh, is the message getting delivered? If it's getting caught by spam filters and not being allowed by the email server, that's a problem. Doesn't matter what I have in there. So there's certain words in the title I avoid, and I try to avoid too many characters because I wind up going in spam folder. I believe it's 60 is what Constant Contact told me, including spaces. So in your title, you want to avoid words like free. You want to avoid too many characters and get to an area where people can see it. And then focus on font size and images.
Thank you, John. I love that. Dr. Fashion, Julie, what about y'all? What do you think? What do you do?
I follow good practices and I don't try to mix it up too much. Back in the day, I was really creative and just did 10 million different fonts. So keep keep everything to 1 to 2 fonts, use the headers like John said, and follow good practices. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Yeah, you definitely have to think about your fonts. It's a big deal. Like a font can change everything. And you know what's actually interesting? I talked about this some time back. You can try this out because for me, I just love breaking things and making them happen. It's like a whole science, like just to learn what goes under the hood and then solve problems. It's like a challenge every day, which is good because you want to keep learning, you want to keep knowing. Because if you know everything, then that's a problem. Like you have to know more things. So I'm looking at it from, like you said, Julie, understanding exactly who your target is, knowing exactly how you connect with them, why you even connect to them in the first place, and then monetizing it in a way that starts from a conversation. So that conversation is picked on different things because you're actually connecting with them and asking them information that you would want them to come back to you with that you can use so that when you have episodes, they're not so stressful. Now, I've seen this with podcasting, which is very high end, but it's it's like it's very possible to do this. When you have keywords, because podcasting in general is focused on exact match phrases. Google, YouTube, all these search boxes, Pinterest, if you don't use any parameters or special characters, they're all broad keywords. But when you use Apple Podcasts, when you use Spotify Podcasts, when you type in on podcasts, even when you go like on listen notes, they are searching based on exact match keywords. Now, there's broad match, there's phrase match, there's exact match. There's also negative keywords, but I won't go too far into that. But when you have exact match keywords, that's why AI and all these great tools are it's becoming a thing where podcast is going to be, I mean, it's already happening. It's the future of marketing. Because when you have a podcast, that's thought leadership. SEO is going to turn into thought leadership by, I'm sure, by 2028, 2030. People will stop saying, I mean, you can keep saying SEO, but it's going to be more of thought leadership because it's going to be AI conversations and it's going to be human conversations. So if you are a thought leader, then if you're thinking, that means you're a human being that is thinking about something that is going to help someone in that capacity. If you're using AI integrations, great, but it's going to start off with you. So when you have exact match key phrases, those exact match key phrases are going to build into the character of how people are going to respond back. So if you're typing in, I'm looking for real estate tips or first time home buyer, tips, that's exactly what you're going to get. And if no one has exactly what you're looking for, they're going to now move to broad, if that makes sense. So search platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, all of them, they deal with exact. If they can't find the exact, they go to broad. But for Google, Pinterest is the opposite. They go to broad first. Restaurants near me, food near me, sushi near me. That's broad. And then when you start using the characters, when you start using the special characters, that's when it changes completely. So your goal is to create that tenacity, build that connection, and also let more people know about how you're able to connect back with them. So if you want to monetize your email list, have a work professional email that is professional friendly. Make sure your DNS records are all secured, meaning that you're able to go in there, add to the records, and also connect all these things like I talked about with Google Search Console, with Bing, connect yourself to those platforms so that you can show up on search engines like Answer Chat GPT, Siri, and the others. So that when you send out emails, you're sending out emails that you can segment. And then from segmenting your emails, you can now start creating more connections with people in a deeper way. So it starts off with how you want to do it now and how you want to do it tomorrow, but it starts off with how you're able to position yourself in these times that we're in. So I'm excited that we talked about this topic today. We really drilled this down. And if you have a question, please put it in the chat and let me know so that we can answer your question today. But if all hearts and minds are clear, I'm excited that we had a chance to really dive in and, talk about this too. So if you're into anything podcast related, business related, this is the time for you to shine because your podcast can really take off. It can take off. It can really, really, really take off. Like I'm looking at it right now where I'm just watching the graph grow. And sometimes when you look at some things, especially for your business, if you want to monetize your email list, you have to have a community somewhere. I think that would be the icing on the cake for this room. If there's nothing you got from this room today or this topic, if you've come to the end of this and you're wondering what's going on, for you to monetize an email list, you need a community first. Community first, product next. It's not product first, community next. So it is community first, product next, because it's a product that you build that's going to let people know that that's what they need. So when you have a community, your community could be on Facebook groups, it could be on Mighty Networks, it could be within a website platform, it could be a podcast Patreon, it could be an email list, it could be a book club, it could be anywhere that you have quality control. And then when you have that control and you're able to build that list, then you can start creating more connections. And I'm glad that you're toying with podcasting, Angie. It's fun. Podcasting is fun, but it also is a lot of work. But it starts to become smart work where you know exactly what you're doing with your podcast. Because right now with podcasting, it's one of the best things you can ever do for your brand because that's the future. This is where people are going to. Businesses, corporations are investing in podcasting. They're investing in podcasting. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, let's do this, right? You can use podseo.com to check your podcast and see where you're ranking. Like you can actually see your ranking today and see where you are. Because one of the things that I had a huge problem with is, especially with podcasting since 2019, I was like, I want to know my analytics. Like that was one thing that was bothering me for so long. And I was like, I'm not going to stop until I figure it out. And I finally did because I'm like, there's no way you can only get information from one source when you're distributing to so many sources. It's like the math is not mathing. So I had to really find out, okay, how do you really know where you are actually ranking on the map? And then Pod SEO came and I've, connected with the founder and it's a great platform. And if you use that platform to really structure your keywords, you'll be so far ahead because your podcast titles, descriptions, and links are going to be so important that it will help you show up online. Right now, when you type in SEO experts, I can be seen on Apple Podcasts as a result, as a search. And then those searches now make you go at the top of the line because you're able to really like go beyond that. So my podcast, I remember and I always love looking at the analytics. By this time in May, today's June 13th. By May, like around May 13th, around that time between like May 5th and May 13th, my podcast dipped to like 300,000 out of 4.5 million. And I was like, what's going on here? So I did something and I was like, let me push this button. And I was like, let me see what this button's going to do. And I tried something because I love testing. And the thing, some people will never for their dear life try that. People were like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm sticking to this. This is what I know. I'm not going to do it. No, period. And that's fine. Me, I'll break it and I'll make it back. So what I did is I changed and I was like, okay, as a podcaster, everybody has their author name, right? But as an author, if you're an author, you're an author of a book. So if your name is Adam, Adam Nonfiction Books. If your name is Jane, it's Jane Fiction Books. So as a podcast, you also need to identify who you are. If your name is Adam Nutrition Tips, thank you so much, Dr. Fashion. Appreciate you. If you have it as tips, nutritional tips, that's how you're going to show up online as. So you're going to start having to create those things. And Apothecary said, yeah, Lord, I'm trying to do it in sections. Yeah, it can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Do you ever have rooms on podcasts or know of podcasts who can help? Yes, That's where I can help as well. So I can definitely help out with that. And I do have a part, it's called Podcast Seriously Training, that you can also be part of, because this is something that I'm passionately doing to help people, get out of this whole funk of podcasting and trying to figure out, okay, what to do, how do things work. It's something that you can easily do depending on how serious you want your podcast to go and how you want it to be. Because right now with podcasting, it's not a hard thing at all. I've not seen it to be a hard thing at all. It's hard when you don't know what you're doing, because every episode is going to be different and you don't want to say the same thing twice. So you can click on the link above if you want to save 6 years guessing and start podcasting seriously. I do have a training, and once you hit the link and you sign up, then you'll be redirected to get on a call, and then I'll be able to tell you how we can start the training and get you going. And we're doing this at a big capacity right now. We're training staff, we're training teams. It's a beautiful thing to see, because I have a huge mission to help people really understand these things, because I looked at it at 300,000 on my podcast. And right now, today, I'm in the top 78,000. And now I'm aiming for that top 1,000, and or even 10,000 by the end of the year, because now I'm like, okay, now I understand how I got so low, and now I know why I'm going up so high. Like, you have to know before you go low, like before you go high, you go low, right? So you have to know exactly how do you get up there and how do you come down, or what even brought you down in the first place. So I was able to discover what was wrong. And you also have to validate your feed, right? There's something called a cast feed validator, right? If you have to validate your RSS feed, it's like auditing your website, right? Because if you have a domain that is being hosted that is not really pulling out those strings, it's going to be a problem. Even with monetizing your email list, you have to be on the right server. You have to be on the right hosting. We have a client who bought a hosting on the same platform, but bought a domain with one account, one email account, and then bought a hosting with another email account, but on the same platform. And I'm like, how? How did this even happen? But it happens. So you don't look at these things and it's like, okay, I did this, they didn't know, and they don't ask you, they don't tell you. So they come to you when they need help. So it's like, okay, it's like going to a doctor. Oh, this is what happened to my tooth, or this is what happened to my head. You're getting those information because of what happened, what was experienced. So if you're using that same mentality and using that same formula, then the goal is to make sure that when you're creating content, is it going to be ranked on Apple Podcasts? Is it going to be ranked on Spotify? Is it going to be ranked on YouTube Music? Is it going to be ranked on Amazon? Those are the very major platforms that you have to connect on. And if you can't connect on those platforms and you're not showing up or ranking within those platforms, it's different. And podcasts rank you from 1 to 100 based on your keywords. So you're going to actually not 199. Sorry, 99. From 1 to 99, that's how you're ranking. So if you have 500 episodes, each episode is going to rank between 1 to 99. So if you have 500 episodes and your average is, whatever the numbers are divided by, or the total of all the numbers of podcasts divided by, the total number of shows you have within that episode or within that show, then you're able to do that math. So I'll give you an example. If you have, let's say, let's make it small. So let's say you have 10 episodes. You have 10 episodes, and within these 10 episodes, you're creating content, and each of them, let's say, is 10 minutes. Now, if each of them is 10 minutes, then that's the bandwidth you're going to have, 10 minutes. Because with a podcast, and if you've never heard this before, please listen to this, because this is going to make or break your podcast. And I noticed this. There's going to be the shortest time and the longest time. And how I noticed this is because when we turned 5 last year, when the podcast turned 5 last year, I did a 5-hour podcast nonstop show. 5 hours. It was a 5-hour nonstop show, and to celebrate 5 years podcasting. That 5 hours was able to expand the podcast like a rubber, like an elastic rubber. or plastic, and then the elastic just pretty much stretched to the end because the average listen time grew from it's like adding, you know, let's say years to your credit history. If you add 15 years, that's going to change everything for your account, you know, because something's going to happen. There's going to be a change in your file. So it's the same thing with your podcast. So when you have a long episode and you have long episodes, then the average of those episodes is going to give you a better response. So if all of them are 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and all of them, let's say 100 minutes, that is going to tell you how well you're going to really show up. Because when you have 1 to 99, that means that you're ranking for a keyword that's very specific to a target market. So if you want to rank for episodes that really show up where you want to show up, then the way you type has to be based off research. Keyword research is so important in anything you do online, whether you want to do a reel, a short, a TikTok video, a blog, whatever it is, a podcast. Keyword research is going to be so important because if you don't start well, it won't end well. And it's just something that I've seen. So just start off the right way and you'll be okay, but do it in a way that you can actually feel connected to what you're actually creating. So before we go, John, what would you let somebody know about email list and just monetizing it from a starting point?
The very first thing I did was would say start. If you don't have one, get started right away. There's plenty of platforms you can start for free. Remember, your list hygiene is very important because most of the email providers out here, they bill you monthly based off how many subscribers you have. So if you have an X amount of subscribers and they're not opening and they're bouncing all the time, they're costing you money. So get rid of the ones who don't respond. The best way to increase your profit margin is decrease your expenses. That's the number one rule. I don't care what kind of business you're in, and it really applies to email marketing. Secondly, do not the hygiene thing is do not be overly protective of your list. The more you mail it, the better your results will be. And lastly, start focusing on creating sub lists of openers, customers, those who are different level of the journey. They're in the interest stage, and email them stuff that's differently. Don't put them all in one area, but your biggest responder for monetization is going to be your openers list and then your clickers list. So you can export people or keep them in the original list and keep to the side and use that for money making. And eventually get rid of the ones that just do not respond because they're costing you money. That's what I would tell people. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I love how you wrapped it up into just one bow. That was perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. That was good. I feel like now that you've heard this, please take action. And if now you're leaving this information and you're like, okay, now I want to try this, I want to do it better. This is the first step I want you to take. This is the very first step I want you to take before we go. What I just put in the email, actually in the chat, I'm talking about emails here. What I just put in the chat, and I'll answer your questions, Ziad. What I just put in the chat is a website called Sender Score. Sender Score. Senderscore.org or .org is a sender reputation website, right? And when you go to Sender Score is going to tell you whether you are a good sender. Simply that. If you're a good sender of emails. And how will you know that? When you put your domain, it's going to tell you to put your domain, right? And when you put your domain, your goal is to find out, okay, am I getting emails sent? And do I have a high score? And how you know if you have a good score is when you look at your score from 90 and above. So different tools have different capacities. And I know for what we use with Flowdesk, we have a 99 score. That's why, because they work with Amazon and it's just perfect that way. So when you now use sender score, it's telling you, and I'll put another link so that you can even get to the actual pathway. Boom. That link, check it out. If your score is, let me just say it this way, if you have a score above 90, that's a good thing because it means that you have good sender reputation. It means that you have good domain authority. It means that you can control a room or you can control an email sequence. If your score is below that, it means you have some work to do from 89 and below. If you don't even see a score at all, that means you have a lot of work to do. So you're going to get either of those three options as well. So I hope that helps. Ziad, where did I take my MBA? I had my MBA at Beulah Heights University, and that's in Georgia as well, in Atlanta, Georgia. They're over how many years? When I was done, they were celebrating 100 years, existing. So they've been there for a century, literally. So that's why I did my MBA, and I have two master's degrees. So that's why it says MBA and also says MS. MS is a Master of Science, and I have a Master of Science in Entertainment Business, and that was at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. So I've had two masters. I've had my undergrad with a minor in what do we call it, peace and conflict, and an undergrad in media and communications. So there's the answers yet. So I've understood the concept and I've diced it down. Thank you. I've diced it down to really because when you master something and you're a master of something, it means that you understand the complexity of something. If you can tell a 5-year-old something that sounds so complex, or like, where did a baby come from? That is a very complex question. But for you to give the answer, it has to be given in an answer that's responsive, that's actually understandable, digestible, and also responsive. Because if I tell you something that doesn't make sense, that's a one-way conversation. It's not two-way anymore. So when you create content and you're online and you connect with people, let people know that you're there. Like, tell them how your day has been. Tell them, oh, this happened, this happened. That way you're able to really connect because it's those little things you tell them about your day. That's what they're going to remember. If you just keep saying, hey, buy this, buy that, at some point they're going to unsubscribe or mark you as spam. But if you start sending out emails and you realize nobody's unsubscribing, don't be surprised. It means you're doing something good. At some point, someone will unsubscribe, but that shouldn't stop you from anything. If one unsubscribes out of 1,000, okay. If 99 do that out of 1,000, okay. But if 999 unsubscribe, okay, something is not right here. So it's up to you to decide how you want to pull that and do that. But I hope this helped you understand these concepts and see exactly what it is for you. Because I just, give you the truth and give you the sauce so that you can decide what you want to do with your business. If that's what you want us to do for you, please let me know. You just click on my profile and you see all my links are there. If you want to book a call, if you want to connect on LinkedIn, if you want to listen to podcasts, it's all there. So thank you so much, John, for being here. Megan, thank you for being here the whole time. Alina, connected with you on LinkedIn too. Megan, Alina, appreciate you. Becky, Richard, Kermit, Angie, Ryder, JP, Will, Apple, thank you for being here. Nania, thank you for being here too. Melvise, Lashonda, appreciate you for being here today. Thank you, Melissa, and also Truest Blue, you too. I put the carry. You're welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been a great time, and I definitely look forward to connecting with you all. So feel free, stay bright, and just, keep doing the right thing and the right people will come. Tomorrow, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be having a room here tomorrow. So if you're going to be here tomorrow, let's connect. I'm going to be talking about local SEO domination, power pages, and marketing strategies. So if you want to listen to that or know more about how to do local SEO, that's going to be a big one because all these things we're talking about have to help, and you need support. And sometimes this support is just, it's one click away. It's one link away. A lot of people have saved a lot of money by just changing their system, changing their process. So if that's you and you need it, please click the link above. Let's get on a call. Let's talk. The replays are on. Listen to this if you missed out, and then say, okay, let's talk about it. Schedule, answer the questions, and let me know what you need so that this way, the next half of the year, you know exactly what you want. Because the question is, when was the last time you did something new for the first time? A lot of things are happening. So we have to automate. If we can't automate in 2025, it's going to be, you can't dominate if you don't automate. Let me just tell you that right now. So I just hope that you're getting this, and you're welcome, True S Blue. You're welcome, Becky. You're welcome, Anania. I had to read that. Appreciate you. Will, yes, it'll be dope. And Kermit, thanks for being here. You all have a wonderful day, have a wonderful Friday, and stay hydrated, stay blessed. And I'm definitely see you guys very soon here tomorrow, bright in the afternoon. And definitely stay informed, and also just stay alert, and then things will happen in your direction, in your favor, if you do things correctly. So thank you for listening to me on how to monetize your email list like a CEO, like a chief executive officer, stress free. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.